The famed historian Camille Bulcke estimates that there are at least 3,000 versions of the Ramayana. Today I just want to tell you three. Let's start with Kamban's story of the Ramayana. Now, Kamban is a very famous Tamil poet. He was influenced by the bhakti movement, where devotees establish a personal connection with God. This is why you see Hindu gods with very large eyes, because it allows the devotee to gaze directly into the deity's eyes and makes it easier to form a connection. Now, the episode I want to tell you about is the story of Ahalya. So, Ahalya was this very bewitching lady, and she was married to a sage called Gautama. Now, the king of the gods, Indra, was overcome with lust for Ahalya, and he came down on earth in the guise of the sage. But the sage was having none of this nonsense. He told Ahalya that she would be converted to stone so that she would be unable to have any desire for some other person. Now, after some time, the sage said, "Oh man, I think I've gone overboard." He told Ahalya, "Look, Ahalya, you will stay here till Rama comes, and then you will be converted into human form in a very pure way." In Valmiki's original Ramayana, Ram was a man god. He was subject to the limitations of a mortal. But in Kamban's Ramayana, Ram is already a god. Kamban's poem delivers something that wasn't there in the original. You have a god show up in front of you, and Ahalya experiences the awakening of the soul that results from becoming one with God. The second telling of the Ramayana is that of the Jain Ramayana. Now, the Jains are incredibly logical people. So they said, hey, how is it possible for monkeys to come and defeat the mighty god Ravana? And then Ravan had this brother called Kumbhakaran who slept for 6 months. They couldn't awaken him for battle even when they poured hot oil into his ears. How is this stuff possible? So the Jains came up with a totally different telling of the Ramayana in the Paumachariya. So in this version, Ravan is actually a very noble guy. He doesn't have 10 heads. He has one head. But when he was young, his mother had a necklace with 9 diamonds. So you have 9 reflections of Ravan when you look at the baby, and plus the original head of Ravan. And if you know math, 9 plus 1, 10. Now, Ravan was very brave, very scholarly, and he was renowned for his self-control with women. In fact, Ravan once invaded a neighboring kingdom, and the wife of the king in that kingdom wanted Ravan to win because she was mad with desire for Ravan. But Ravan conquered the kingdom, and he didn't so much as lay a hand on his wife. Then one day, a soothsayer told Ravan that, hey, look, you're a nice guy and all that, but you're going to meet your end. This is destiny. And you're going to meet your end when you meet this woman called Sita. You're going to kidnap her, and you're going to get killed in revenge. So here you see Ravan's story take on this whole Greek tragedy aspect, where there's a flaw built into his personality, and no matter what his actions, he is going to meet his fate. Why did Ravan have this flaw built into this personality? So the Jains say that it was Ravan and Ram's brother Lakshman who have been going at it for centuries. So Lakshman was the Vasudeva, or the good guy, and Ravan was the Prati Vasudeva. So it wasn't so much as good or bad. Think of it as matter and antimatter. They are two opposing forces that is essential to keep balance in nature. Where was Ram in all of this? In the Jain telling, Ram was already someone who had achieved salvation, and the Jains are famously non-violent. And so in their telling of the Ramayana, Ram doesn't want anything to have to do with killing. And Lakshman is the guy who does all the killing. And Ravan is not a bad guy. In fact, he's a magnificent king. It's just his fate that is written into the story of the universe where he has to meet his end. Now, finally, I want to get into the Thai version of the Ramayana, which has this really unexpected twist at the end. Now, in all the Ramayanas, there is this lady called Surpanakha, who's a demon who meets them in the forest. And she is overcome with lust for Ram, and Lakshman cuts off her nose. Now, Surpanakha's daughter is very upset. I mean, think about it. Someone cuts off your mother's nose. You want revenge. So she comes to the palace and becomes Sita's maid. And she puts magical influences on Sita and makes Sita draw a portrait of Ravan. And then Ram sees this portrait and says, man, this lady was kidnapped by Ravan, and they must have had something going on because she's still drawing his portrait. And it is then that Sita gets banished to the forest. And in fact, Ram tells his brother Lakshman, you should kill her once you take her to the forest. But Lakshman is a good guy. He doesn't want to kill Sita. So instead, he kills a deer and takes his heart back to Ram. But this is Ram we are talking about. He's not going to get fooled by such petty acts. So he knows that Lakshman didn't kill his wife. And he's overcome with love after seeing the compassion that Lakshman showed for his sister-in-law. And Ram tells Sita, hey, come back, I'm really sorry, and all that. But Sita says, no way, Jose, or no way, Rama. And she goes deep into the earth, which is such a beautiful poetic twist, because in the Thai telling of the Ramayana, just like in Valmiki's, Sita was born from the earth. In fact, that's the meaning of her name. But here's the part I want to come to, my personal connection with the Ramayana. So just about a decade ago, I didn't have fond feelings for the Ramayana. My mind could never come to terms with how Ram, after rescuing Sita, believes the words of a washerman saying she's been unfaithful to him, slept with Ravan, and then he banishes her to the forest. But over the course of time, as I have come to appreciate these different versions, I have come to love the Ramayana. And it's something I can't quite express in words, but I feel the true kind of wisdom that comes from feeling. Because I believe that when you read all these different versions of the Ramayana, you really come to develop an appreciation of what is true, what is valuable, and what is the correct way to live one's life. I guess that's the beautiful thing about stories like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. They connect you with something that's larger than yourself. They connect you with these beautiful stories of bravery, of love, of lust, and of overcoming human weakness. And then as you grow older, along the way, just like Ahalya's statue, you too move past your narrow individual pettiness, and then you connect with your soul awakening to everything in the world. And the leaf, the rain, the earth, the mountains, and the vastness of this interconnected universe that we like to call God. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please consider subscribing for this channel so that we might meet again. I look forward to seeing you again. Have a great week and enjoy the next 7 days that lie ahead. Bye.